Today we're driving the 2022 BMW M240i xDrive. We have an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, the B58 3-liter inline-6 turbo that makes 382 horsepower. And yeah, this is a fun little package. Kind of funky looking on the outside. We'll talk about that in a minute. But on the interior, we have a very nice space. The 2 Series has definitely leveled up in terms of interior quality and feel. Of course, this is the standard BMW corporate interior, very similar to just about every other BMW on the road. We've got some differences here in the door panel, some ambient lighting, which we can't quite see in the daylight, but it's purple, just like the exterior of this car. Let's show you what that looks like. This is, I think, one of the coolest colors that BMW has in their lineup right now. It's called Thundernight Metallic, and it's just purple, but look at it. I think it's a great color. Now, this is kind of my favorite angle of this car. I like the door handle. I like the slab side design here. These slightly accented fender flares look pretty good. It's when you get to the front and rear bumpers where I think we've got some issues with proportions here on this BMW 2 Series. When this first came out, I thought it was absolutely hideous. I've got to say, in person, I actually like it a lot more. I don't mind it as much. It's growing on me. It's kind of strange how that works, isn't it? We have these 3D taillights in the back that, I don't know. I'm not sold on the rear end. I think that's probably the most controversial angle for me. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some people are going to love this. Some people are going to hate it. The 2 Series hasn't necessarily always been the best looking BMW. So hopefully they fix the M2 and make that a little bit more attractive when that comes out. That said, enough about the looks. We're on a set of Continental winter tires today, so we'll be trying to manage our grip as best as we can. We do have all-wheel drive helping us out with that. Pricing on this starts just under $50,000. As spec'd, as tested, this is about $55,000 with a couple options. Pretty good value in my opinion. Performance-wise, it's quicker than an M2, and you get all-wheel drive. I mean, this is kind of a bigger, more spacious, more practical all-wheel drive Toyota Supra. Think of it in that respect, and you're getting some pretty good value here. Everything's been a mess this week. We have had a lot of salt on the roads in Michigan, so excuse those floor mats. We've got a pretty decent back seat. I'll sit behind myself, show you guys what legroom is like. I tried shoehorning our car seat in here earlier this week and it just didn't quite work, so that might be a little bit of a struggle. If you've got a smaller setup though, we have a baby Duna, you might be able to get it back here with some creative finagling. We get a little bit of an armrest here with some cup holders. I have a decent amount of leg room. It's tight. I'm 5'10", driver's seat is set to 5'10". I just don't have enough headroom to kind of sit up straight. Get a nice little pass through there, and it looks like these seats do fold down. I'm gonna let myself out of here because getting a little claustrophobic. We have some really nice looking contrast stitching on these seats. It's blue, and otherwise pretty much not a whole lot different with this interior. Let's take a look at this engine. There we go, M Performance, 3-liter turbocharged inline-6. Gets about 23 miles to the gallon in the city, 32 on the highway. Super efficient engines from BMW, and they tend to overperform on their EPA numbers just a little bit. You can see on the front grille, we've got these slats that open and close depending on how much cooling the car needs. Got your radar, cruise control, adaptive stuff down there. I think it's all pretty nicely integrated. I actually don't mind the front end as much as I did initially. It's got this very kind of Jay Leno chin to it. It really juts out a little bit. Looks a little bit more aggressive than I anticipated that it would. I love this door handle. This is just a really cool piece here. And around the back, not sold on it. Here's a key fob. You pop the trunk. You get a great big opening. Really nice. And you can fold down the rear seats, and you've got a pretty big pass-through there as well, which is great. do we have a compact spare tire? If we do, I'm having a lot of trouble accessing it. So I'm going to say that's a no. We do get a 12-volt outlet back here, though, which is nice. Like the grayed out badges. Exhaust tips look good. We've got a little bit of a diffuser down low here. All right, that's a good walk around. Let's take this thing for a drive. So BMW is doing a really good job with their interiors these days. Lots of physical controls, lots of buttons, really nice integration of tech. We've got wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You've got your wireless charge space down there, along with a couple of cup holders, a USB port, 12-volt outlet. All of your drive mode selection is right down here with physical buttons. You can have an adaptive mode that will change according to the driving situation. You've got Eco Pro, which is the most efficient drive setting, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and then an individual setting that you can customize to your liking. I have mine set to everything in Comfort except for the engine and transmission, which are both in Sport Plus. So I like being able to just quickly press that, jump into my Sport individual mode, and I'm off. We'll start off in Comfort mode. This iDrive controller, one of the best in the biz. I love the redundancy between having a touchscreen and this. It's super quick. This infotainment is very responsive, easy to navigate. A lot of settings to customize and just kind of set to your preferences. And you've got some quick access menus up here at the top too. But for the most part, you're probably just going to be leaving this in CarPlay. A little bit of storage here in the center console with a USB-C charge port. Nice looking seats. You've got some M little colors right in there, and down here with an M badge. Heated steering wheel that gets nice and hot really fast. Heated seats as well. One thing I feel like this car is kind of missing is a automatic tilt adjustment steering wheel motor, but you get quite a bit of adjustment with this wheel too. So I haven't had any trouble getting a nice and comfortable driving position this week. You've got your classic thigh bolsters down there. Crumb collector right here, decently sized glove box lined with felt, which is nice, and a pretty big sunroof. Yeah, all right, let's take this thing for a drive and see how it is on the road. Take a look at the reverse camera, pretty high res, nice 360 cam, good use of screen real estate too. I have great visibility all throughout this 2 Series. And I've got to say, one of my favorite things about this car is just how nice it feels. BMW's lower end models used to feel a little bit cheap. They rattled around a little bit. They didn't have as nice interiors as, let's say, the 3 Series or 4 Series or even 5 and 6 Series BMWs. And I always felt with the 2 Series you were getting a little bit of a more bargain basement interior space. That's no longer the case with this new M240i. This feels as nice as a $70,000 3 Series on the road. And you can kind of get that same driving experience with a little bit more of a nimble chassis, shorter wheelbase, similar levels of power for about 8 to 10 grand less than you can in the 3 Series. Granted, you're not getting rear doors. The weights are pretty similar because this still has an all-wheel drive system. It's not a light car. It's just shy of 3,900 pounds, 3,877 curb weight. So, you know, it's heavy, but it feels very solid. The NVH levels in here are fantastic. The tuning and calibration of everything is really nice. So I really commend BMW on making this a very high-end experience behind the wheel. I feel like I'm driving a $60,000 or $70,000 car, and for something that starts at 50 grand or just shy of, it's a pretty good bargain. All right, Sport Plus mode. Let's listen to this Inline-6. Actually, we're going to go into Sport Individual. Get a little bit softer damping. This B58 just sounds awesome. Turn in is super sharp. All-wheel drive system gives you a really nice traction out of corners. And the shifts from the 8-speed ZF. They're not as aggressive as they would be in something like an M car, but they're smooth and they just really, really respond when you hit the paddles. You can just bang into the next gear. Very satisfying. Settling down here in comfort mode on the highway, we have adaptive cruise control. You can easily adjust your following distance with these buttons right here on the left side of the wheel. No, steering assist, lane centering, anything like that. I'm okay with that. That's fine. We've got a few different views in our gauge display here. We can see our fuel economy. You can see we've averaged about 24 miles to the gallon this week. Lots of spirited combined driving, which I think is pretty impressive. You can see your trip, your power meter. That's fun. G meter, music, and whatever drive mode you're in, along with your transmission settings. Adaptive cruise control seems to work great. No complaints with that this week. You can also set a speed limiter. So basically you just set that, and whatever that's at, you can put your foot down and the car won't go any faster until you go through the kickdown switch. Kind of nice to keep you from speeding on the highway if you're going to be adjusting your speed a lot in traffic, but you want to keep things at a minimum, because I've got to say it is very easy to get this car into the triple digits. It is properly quick. You have quick access buttons to all of your intelligent safety settings. You can configure what you want on, what you want off, how late, early you want your forward collision mitigation, your lane departure warning, blind spot detection, all that good stuff. It's great to have that quick access button so you can just quickly change all those settings, enable them or disable them to whatever you prefer. Let's go in here and exit off the highway. A really comfortable highway cruiser. Ride quality, phenomenal. Super, super smooth over bumps. Even some larger potholes or road imperfections or expansion joints, they don't phase this car. The suspension is really well tuned and very comfortable for daily use. Sport Plus, you get some nice pops and burbles from the exhaust. These paddles are very nice to use. They have kind of a grippier rubber lining on the back of them. Let's see if this can dance. I assume it can. Pretty short gearing too, which I really appreciate. You can actually enjoy this engine at reasonable speeds. Second gear tops out at 58, 59 miles an hour. You're into third and you can rev this thing out and really enjoy that straight six. It's pretty tail happy too. You can get this thing pretty sideways. Super fun to drive in the snow. Winter conditions just love this all-wheel drive system. Or I guess vice versa. This all-wheel drive system loves winter conditions. Of traction. It gives you that little bit of slip angle on turn in or corner exit, and then it kind of settles down. The all-wheel drive system sends more power to the front wheels, straightens you out, but it just gives you enough to make you feel like you're a bit of a hero and this chassis is really active. It's kind of fun. Let's take a left, see if we can drive on some snowy surfaces. I just washed this thing and we're just gonna go and get it dirty, I guess. Tons of traction on these Continental winter tires too. This would be just a fantastic winter daily. BMW gets it right with their cars. Proper shift direction, back to upshift, down to forward to downshift. I can't say I'm a fan of many of BMW's new designs, but I really am starting to love the way their cars drive again. I think BMW is back in a respect, and this 2 Series is a great example of that. The steering's pretty numb, pretty lifeless. It kind of has an artificial setback to center. But this chassis is so good that it does a pretty good job of communicating what you want to know from the front end, from the rear end. It's just... this is a fun car to drive. Doing really well on what's basically ice. Let's give you guys another quick walk around of this. It's a bit strange how when a car first launches, it can be so controversial and look so horrible, even though it's got pretty decent looking press photos. Then you see it in person, and it's not as bad as you thought it was. I don't know if that's just a psychological thing of us getting used to cars the more we see them in articles and online and posts. But there are definitely some weird proportions going on here with this M240i. It's just the rear end, the way the taillights look, I really don't think it's a good look at all. But I don't know, the driving experience here helps excuse that a little bit. Gosh, even after some spirited driving, our grille slats are still completely closed. Just a ton of traction from this all-wheel drive system. Yeah, there's almost a springiness to the steering in how it snaps back to center. It's a bit odd. Love all the adjustability that you get with a car like this, with all the drive modes and different settings. You can individually tailor your suspension stiffness, your steering weight. Actually, let's go in and do that. Let's configure individual. Let's get us slightly heavier steering. Let's put it into sport and see what that feels like. Looking both ways. Drifting. And I remind you again, we're basically on ice right now. Just amazing traction. Brake pedal feel is excellent. Really easy to modulate above that ABS point. And when ABS does kick in, it's pretty quiet. Fun, 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 fun. Very slippy in your Mustang with all-season tires. Yes, be careful. Yeah, sport mode doesn't improve the steering at all. It just gets a little bit weightier. Okay, shall we try a launch-controlled start, sport traction, sport transmission mode. Let's see what happens. Sub 4 seconds, 0 to 60. 3.6, 3.8. That's quick. That's really quick. This M240i does a really nice job combining speed with sophistication. Let's do another one. A little bit grippier surface here. That's more like it. That front end is very sharp on turn in. This is a very nice car. It does without the harshness and ferociousness of an M car, but has the smoothness and refinement of a much higher end BMW model like the 3 Series or even 6 Series, I dare say. This is kind of a sweet spot for an enthusiast package, and if you can live without having rear doors or easy rear seat access, I think this is a very practical option too. Super fuel efficient for what it is, having all-wheel drive, weighing what it does. BMW is doing a great job with this engine. This is just it's a great sounding powertrain, pulls like a freight train, plenty of power, and the gearing is right too. That's something that some manufacturers these days, like Lexus with their performance products, they're gearing their cars so tall that you really can't wring them out and enjoy them. And I've really been able to enjoy this car this week. All right, well, while we're just cruising here on the highway, let's go in and do a quick sound system test. This Harman Kardon sound system is pretty good. It's a little bit of an improvement over previous Harman Kardons that I've listened to in BMWs, so that's a positive. Got a volume knob down there. Volume controls on the steering wheel here, track selection just below. You can see we've got some more options in the head-up display to scroll between tracks. That's neat. Sound system is very decent. One of the clearer Harman Kardons that I've heard in a BMW recently. I like that. I'm excited to get this car on drive pavement, on summer tires at some point, and really feel like what this chassis can do. It's kind of nice to drive it in low grip situations like this today because you can kind of feel how it reacts at the limit. And it's very neutral. On throttle, you saw at that entrance ramp, it gives you just a little bit of that lift-off, oversteer on entry, a little bit of oversteer on corner exit on initial throttle, tip in, and it's fun. And when you want it to, it really does a nice job putting its power down. There's a lot of torque. Very smooth, very linear power band with this 3-liter inline-6. There isn't a ton of brake bite, but I love the way the pedal feels. And you could always upgrade the pads in a car like this. Even on winter tires, not a lot of NVH here. Alright guys, well that's going to be a wrap on our M240i xDrive first impressions. Love the way this car drives. Don't love the way it looks. But again, if you don't mind it or you don't hate it, this is a fantastic driver's car from BMW. Finally, BMW is making some stuff that really, I think, is going to start appealing to enthusiasts that isn't necessarily an M car. Somebody had some fun here. It wasn't me. Alright guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Anything else you'd like to see from us later this week. I'm also going to do a Pov Night Drive on this M240i. Really want to show you what the ambient lighting looks like. It's purple, just like the outside, and it kind of sweeps around here and in some of the panels. It looks pretty sharp. So anyway, that's it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.